guy, Zion Williamson,
Yes.
right? One of the stars that we hope in the NBA. We want him to be a superstar, but it's been some issues since he's come into the league. Staying on the floor has been an issue for him, and now he's been away for the team for a long time and hasn't played in a game in almost a year now. He's in Oregon, where he's been training, rehabbing, and he hasn't had, from what we know, a ton of communication with the Pelicans. They haven't really talked much about him other than he's still going to be away from the team, still training and rehabbing in Oregon. And then you have the situation last week where CJ McCollum's like, hey, I want to talk to Zion. We haven't gotten a chance to talk. And if you're the Pelicans, you swing this deal for a guy in CJ, a leader, a proven scorer, and what looks like a vocal leader in that room. And not being able to talk to your young star, your future, your face of your franchise, I think that's a difficult situation. And we want to look at this Zion situation like, I don't like placing blame, but I think if we're looking at it just on Zion, I think we have to have the discussion at least about maturity in this situation. For me, I say, look, we hear everything about your camp. We hear everything about what you may or may not want from you. But I think there's a lot of issues here with you being so far away and so isolated that some of these narratives have been created through no fault of your own. But at the same time, it's kind of allowed the fire to kind of spread into something much bigger. And I think if we look at like a Ben Simmons situation,
right,
those two are kind of comparable.
Yeah, but he's 21 years old, and you can use the maturity thing. Oh, well, he doesn't know any better. You only can use that excuse so much. But when he's the #1 overall pick and he was taken, in the draft, you accept this sort of responsibility, right? As an athlete, as the face of a franchise, you should know better. It doesn't matter your age, what is expected from you. And so I think that he should have known, hey, I got to reach out to CJ despite all of the stuff that's going on within the organization.
I'm not going to say this to skirt any type of accountability for Zion, right, because he is an adult and adults have to own up to their actions. But science will tell you that a person's brain, the rational part of a person's brain is not fully developed until they're 25 years old, right? So here's a young man. A lot of things started happening for him quickly, right? You become a superstar at a really young age. And so what tends to happen there is in one part of your life, there's a lot expected of you that you're not ready for. In another part of your life, there are people that are going to coddle and enable you. And it's really confusing, and I think that it really stunts your maturity at times. Again, this is not an excuse. I'm just telling you what happens, and I can point to a guy that I played with in college, in Ezekiel Elliott, where that's exactly what happened with him. And he was a headline machine for a little while, and I'm very proud of where he's at right now because he's really gotten his act together. But I think he had some bad influences, some people that coddled him, and ultimately he was not ready for the limelight that he received, being one of the best stars in the NFL at such a young age, being one of the major stars in college football at such a young age. I think it did something to him socially. I think it did something to his maturity. Yeah. And so as we start to look at these athletes, I'm not saying don't hold them accountable, but I'm saying we should also have a little bit of understanding that none of these things are going to happen perfectly, because even though they are adults and even though they are household names, they are still growing and they are still developing.